Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer 55551, and I am back with a My 2 cent Nintendo/gaming video for this week, for the week of November 8th to November 14th. And I hope you guys were lucky enough to either get an Xbox One Series S or X or a PlayStation 5, because apparently, well, it was certainly hard for a lot of people though. Although I did manage to get an Xbox Series S. That was the one I was able to pre-order, which, looking back at it, I felt like it was you had an easier time getting the Xbox Series S than you did with the X or even the PS5 though, but it is what it is. Before we get started on the video though, I do want to point out that there won't be any video game review for this week. A lot of things happened this week, ranging from where I work and all that stuff. It just really made it very difficult to do any kind of video review and all that stuff. So there won't be any for this week though. I'm hoping I could try to get something next week, or try to get things back up once everything sort of kind of slows down a little bit though. But for this week though, there won't be any video game reviews, unfortunately though. But anyway though, we do have about 5 stories to cover for this week, including the whole issue with scalpers, with the whole issue with the PS5 and Xbox Series X and all that stuff. We're also going to cover the situation regarding Marvel's Avengers video game, which apparently it doesn't seem to that game did very well or anything like that though. We also want to talk about a comment Aulx made in regards to success, I think, of Persona 4 Gold did on Steam in terms of bringing their games into other systems and all that stuff. I also want to talk about a situation in regard of the game Genshin Impact, in terms of information about other players may have come out that shouldn't have happened. And of course, surprisingly, an announcement of the Serious Sam collection is going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch. But before we get started, I do want to do a quick rundown, what I like to call the quick My 2 cent part. The parts where some of the stories caught my attention though, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details. The first one we know is that apparently there was an accidental leak in which originally rumors claimed that supposedly that a Switch version of Metroid Samus Returns would be coming to that system. It later turned out to be that this leak may have been false, or may have been misread, as it looked like it was just like what appears to be looked like skins for the Nintendo Switch and all that stuff. So it probably isn't true. Still, I would like to see, I wouldn't mind seeing a port of Metroid Samus Returns that was on the 3DS. I wouldn't mind seeing that coming over to the Nintendo Switch and all. Although there are some rumors flowing around about the idea of a remake of Super Metroid being done. Not sure about that one. Personally, if they're going to do a 2D Metroid, I think they should do that long rumored Metroid Dread and all that. But hey, that's my opinion. Although I wouldn't mind that, nor a remake of Metroid Fusion. That I wouldn't mind if they're doing a 2D Metroid, to be exact. We also learned that basically the developer team Yuka that did a lot of the WCW games and WWE games, or at the time called WWF, are now working on an all-new wrestling game for the, I think, AEW, All Elite Wrestling and all that stuff. Now, personally, I'm not a big wrestling fan or anything like that, but it's interesting to see how this one takes off, as it looks like they're trying to bring it to as many systems as possible, including mobile devices though. If it happens, hopefully it will do something good. Hopefully it will be good. I mean, we saw what happened last year with WWE 2K20 and the debacle of the mess like that. I mean, if the game does well enough, it might be some competition for 2K games, and they may have to actually step it up and put some actual effort into their WWE games. And if they do bring it to the Nintendo Switch, hopefully they avoid the mistake of what happened with, or at least they avoid the mistakes that were made with WWE 2K18, which serves as a reminder of how to not optimize your game for the Nintendo Switch though. We also learned that basically 13 was recently released this week, and not everyone is pleased with the game, ranging from the visual change to apparently there looks like some of the footage showed a lot of bugs and glitches and all that stuff. We'll see if this one gets patched, and we'll see if they see when the game does come to the Nintendo Switch, if they basically make some adjustments to make the game run properly and all that stuff. But doesn't look good for 13 and all. We also learned that Nintendo was actually the ones that convinced XC to bring Sakura to the Nintendo Switch, and apparently we learned that apparently the Switch, in terms of pre-orders, the Switch version I think did more than the PS4 version, which is kind of interesting that Nintendo convinced XC though, because I remember hearing a story a while back that Nintendo didn't want XC to bring over Devil's Third to the Wii U and all that stuff, but it is what it is. But I haven't tried this game out. I gotta get to that one and try that out when I get a chance. We also learned that Doug Bowser, the president of Nintendo, has congratulated both Sony and Microsoft on the launch of their next system, which is nice though. I mean, it's nice to see that they are reaching out, saying, kudos to their competitors and all that stuff. So far it seems Xbox and the PlayStation, or at least Sony and Microsoft, seem to be doing very well, at least for their new systems and all that stuff, despite some controversies in terms of trying to find them, to be exact. We also learned that supposedly there's a report from the NPD that the Switch may have sold more in the third quarter than any other platform since the DS in 2009, which is kind of interesting. I mean, let's be honest, the Switch is certainly doing very well for Nintendo at the moment, but like I said before, it's going to be really interesting to see how it fares once the PS5 and the Xbox Series S and X are out the window and all. So we will see how that goes, but apparently Switch is still making money for Nintendo and all that stuff. We also learned that crossplay unfortunately will be skipping the Nintendo Switch version of Mortal Kombat 11, which is, I mean, it is unfortunate for those who are looking forward to it, for that kind of feature for the Nintendo Switch. And we were learning, at least in the movie side, the Mortal Kombat reboot movie originally was supposed to drop a trailer, but so far the report is that they are delaying the movie indefinitely due to, the whole situation with COVID-19. And, a lot of movies and a lot of shows have been affected with the whole situation with COVID-19. Some have found a way forward, but others have been really been hitting some tough spots though. We also learned Microsoft put out a tweet asking people to not blow vapor smoke into the Xbox Series S. There was someone who did that, and there was some claim that basically the Xbox Series X overheated. It turned out that may not be the case, but the fact that Microsoft's letting people know is, that's just... it is what it is, though. And finally, last but not least, in another non-gaming one, we have supposedly a release date for the upcoming Marvel show WandaVision that will be on Disney+. Supposedly, the date is January 15. Having seen the trailer myself, it looks interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing this TV show, along with, doing season 2 of The Mandalorian and so forth. So, if you're looking to watch WandaVision, though, mark your calendar for January 15th. Okay, with the quick Might You Sent part now done, we'll get started with our first story, and this one is the announcement of the Serious Sam collection, apparently announced for the Nintendo Switch. Now, I reviewed Serious Sam the Serious Sam collection when it came out on the Google Stadia. Yes, Google Stadia, though. I don't think Stadia is as bad as the internet makes it sound like it is, but that's not to say Google is immune to any criticisms or the way they handle it, though. And my time with the game was actually very good, as the game felt to me like a throwback to the old first-person shooter games of the days of, the original Doom and Wolfenstein, to like the Turok series I remember back during the Nintendo 64 era and all. So it was a fun, over the top type of game, and I certainly enjoyed it though, especially with Serious Sam 4 out, which for now is a Stadia exclusive, although time exclusive at this time. Well, it's kind of interesting that we learned this week that apparently the game is or at least the Serious Sam collection is coming to the Nintendo Switch. In an article from Destructoid, it reads that, quote, last month, Devolver Digital acquires Serious Sam collector Crow Team, Now they're starting to roll that partnership out beyond the scope of future entries in the Serious Sam series. Announced today, the Nintendo Switch is getting the Serious Sam collection. It's priced at $29.99, $30, netting you all the content from Serious Sam's HD, the first encounter, Serious Sam, the second encounter, and Serious Sam 3 BFE with the 2 expansions. The collection is out soon on November 17th, so if you're a Switch-only user and want something to do during the 2 new console launch and before Age of Calamity, you're good. This new SAQ was initially spotted on the Nintendo eShop by Praying Eyes before Devolver Digital decided to just tweet it out and make it official. No physical release plan has been discovered yet, though that would be nice to see a physical version, nor are there any announcements for the Series S and X or PS5 port, which I will admit that is kind of interesting that they are not bringing it to the, or at least at this time, bringing it to either the PS5 or Xbox Series S or X, but bringing it to the Nintendo Switch in the first place. Either way, it's nice to see this game sort of come outside of being released on other systems or PC and coming over to the Nintendo Switch, which is certainly nice though. My hope is that I do hope the game does very well, although it depends on people's preference and taste, because if this one does well, and assuming, you know, they could port this over, and assuming when the time exclusive for Google Stadia ends though, I would really like for them to bring over Serious Sam 4. I would really like for them to bring that game over to the Nintendo Switch along with the Serious Sam collection. Of course, like I said, some of that will depend on whether or not they can port it over to the Nintendo Switch properly though. So overall, very nice they're bringing this game over. Here's to hoping, assuming they can port it over, that Serious Sam 4 makes its way over to the Nintendo Switch. And to Devolver Digital, assuming this is possible in any way, I would love to see the Shadow Warrior series come to the Nintendo Switch if that can be done. And although I'm sort of pushing my luck on this one, I would love for you guys or the developers, whether it's the Serious Sam developers or the Shadow Warrior developers, to get the rights for Duke Nukem and do a Duke Nukem game. I mean, let's be honest. What's Gearbox doing with Duke Nukem? Don't get me wrong, I like Borderlands and all that stuff, but seriously, they really haven't done anything with Duke Nukem other than making an appearance in Bulletstorm, and that's basically it. So I'd rather have you guys handle the you Devolver Digital or Flying Hog or Crow Team handle a Duke Nukem game, at least in my view and all that. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2. And this one has to do with an issue that has recently emerged with the game Genshin Impact. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at a bit of a controversy that has kind of emerged with the game Genshin Impact. Now, some of you may have heard of this game when it was announced, though. In fact, one of the most famous things about this announcement was that, other than some looking at it as a Breath of the Wild clone, others see it as one person went out of, or at least I shall say, one person went out of the way, not only mad about this game coming to like the PS4 and all that stuff, but went as far as smashing their PS4 altogether, which I think that maybe that was a bridge too far on that one. But in either case, though, we learned that the developers were planning to bring the game over to the Nintendo Switch, although no word when that is going to happen. But so far, the game supposedly has done very well, thanks to some of the microtransactions in the game. Although there's reports claim you can pretty much play the game without the microtransactions, although I'm a little iffy when it comes to that. But either way, the game seems to be doing well in terms of dollars and all that stuff. However, a recent controversy has recently emerged regarding this game, and this may has to do with players' information, or at least certain players' information leaking out. In an article from Game Industry Biz, It reads that, quote, the developers of Genshin Impact has reportedly been leaking its players' mobile phone numbers as part of its password recovery process. A Reddit user reported that when trying to recover the password associated with their MIHOYO account by asking them to be sent a code on their phone, their number would be fully displayed. Such information is usually partially censored for security reason. That means anyone knowing your username could have access to your phone number by going through the password recovering process. This didn't seem to impact all players, but several users were affected in various territories in Asia, Europe, and North America. In an update to their Reddit post, the user pointed out that the issue has now been resolved for them, with their phone numbers now being hidden when going through the process again. They called from the developers to implement two-factor authentication, apologize if I'm not saying the word correctly, to better process users and recommend Genshin Impact players to unlink their phone numbers for the time being. The issue doesn't seem to impact being sent a recovery code via email, with the address in this case being correctly censored. The problem was already mentioned in another Reddit thread last month, but it didn't get much traction. The game industry biz has reached out to developers for comment. It's not the first time MIHOYO is criticized for breaching users' privacy. A day after Genshin Impact release, PC players expressed concerns as the game's anti-cheat program will always run in the background even after exiting the game or uninstalling it. The developers then fixed the issue very quickly and apologized for any inconvenience. Now, it's worth pointing out that this article also has an update from the developers, and it reads that, quote, in a statement provided by Game Industry Biz, MIHOYO said they took immediate action to fix the problem, which should now be resolved for all users. The team has already noticed a systematic issue which might accidentally reveal users' phone number. The statement reads, the team took immediate action to fix the problem, and so far the issue has been resolved. So yeah, that's not necessarily a great thing for happen to, especially with a game like this. I mean, we saw a similar situation with the whole Fallout 76 canvas bag situation, where some people's, I think, credit card information was revealed and all that stuff, or at least somewhat revealed and all. So this is definitely not a great thing for the developers and all that stuff, and I think it might have some people reconsider next time linking their phone numbers or anything, especially if they're trying to restore their password and all that stuff. Supposedly they fixed it, which, assuming what they're saying is true, I think that's a good thing, but still not necessarily a great thing to note here, the fact that some people's phone numbers or their cell phone numbers may have been revealed and all that stuff. So overall, be a little careful, especially when they're asking for like your phone number or anything like that. While it's great that the developers supposedly, at least like I said, if what they're saying is true, fixed it though, this problem should have never existed in the first place. At least that's how I'm seeing it though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 3. And this one has to do with the comment Aulx has made in response to, I believe, Persona 4 Gold or something like that was released onto Steam, and how well that game did. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one we're going to be taking a look at Aulx.to, and recent comments that they have recently made. Now, most people, majority at this point, have heard of Aulx before. They have published and produced some very good games, ranging from the Persona series to the Shin Megami Tensei, to even when they publishing games from Vanillaware, one of my favorite developers, with games like Odin Sphere, Dragon Crown, and the recent release of Sentinel Angus, 13 Angus Sentinel. If I'm saying the name correctly, apologize if I am not, though. But for the most part, a lot of their games have pretty much been stayed on basically to the PlayStation brand. They really haven't branched off as much, as we haven't seen their games, we haven't seen a whole lot of their games been out to other systems outside of maybe we've seen the Shin Megami Tensei come to like the 3DS. We know there's 2 entries coming to the Nintendo Switch with I think a remake of Shin Megami Tensei 3, and I think the upcoming one, I think it's 5. Again, I don't know 100% know for certain if that's the right number. I have a hard time reading Roman numerals. They've teamed up with Nintendo working on a Tokyo Mirage session game, which is a crossover between Fire Emblem and the Shin Megami Tensei series. And of course, we've seen, Vanillaware's game like Muramasa the Demon Blade make its way over to the Nintendo Wii before being ported over to the PlayStation Vita. Would love to see a remake or a remaster of that game on the Nintendo Switch. That would be really, really good, though. Well, recently we've heard a comment that Aulx has made in regards of the success of them porting over Persona 4 Gold, which apparently did very well on the Steam charts and all that, or at least on Steam to be exact. In an article first reported from MyNintendo.com, it reads, and I quote, Sega's president and CEO recently held a video game presentation after the company's result for the fiscal year ending March 2021. During the presentation, the CEO spoke about the company's desire to revisit Aulx's extensive back catalog after the success of the release of Persona 4 Gold on PC's platform Steam. They put out a summary of it, and it says, quote, Sega is working with different partners to expand their release to platforms beyond the Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo bubble. Sega has not been proactive about releasing Aulx titles on Steam until now, but the direct port of Persona 4 Gold on PC far exceeded their expectations. As a result of Persona 4 Gold's success, Sega wants to release more ports, remasters, and remakes for their catalog of Aulx titles to various platforms. I will say, in some ways, this is definitely a good announcement, though, because a lot of seeing the success of Persona 4 Gold on Steam, certainly it sounds like it's convincing them to say, hey, maybe we should release some of these games onto other platforms outside of the PlayStation brand and all that stuff. I mean, look at Disgaea, for example. I think that Disgaea 5, did very well on the Nintendo Switch, to the point that now we're getting Disgaea 6 exclusive onto the Nintendo Switch. Whether you like the idea of it being exclusive or not, that's going to come down to your preference and take on the whole situation, though. But while I certainly think this is good news, I am hoping this encourages them to maybe bring more of their games over to the Nintendo Switch. While I understand they want to release it on, say, like PC and Steam, which, again, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that. There's no denying the fact that there is probably an audience on PC, and those who use the Steam servers and all that, or the Steam in general, even though I'm not a PC gamer. I really would like to see Sega bring more of Aulx titles over to the Nintendo Switch. While we are getting the Shin Megami Tensei game, both the remaster of 3 and the new one, I would like for them to start bringing over the Persona series as well. I mean, bringing in some of the old entries would be great, but I think a lot of Nintendo fans would love to see Persona 5 on the Nintendo Switch. Though, I think a lot of Nintendo fans would love the idea of maybe even Vanillaware's games, whether it's Odin Sphere, Dragon Crown, Muramasa, the Demon Blade, or even, 13 Sentinel, Angus Ram. Again, apologize if I'm not saying the name correctly, though. So there are a lot of games that Aulx has either published or has basically developed that I think would be a great idea to bring over to the Nintendo Switch. That I think would fit fit with Switch owners, to be exact, considering that what we saw during the DS and the 3DS era, a lot of RPGs made their way over to those systems, and it became often referred to as sort of like the mecca of RPGs, basically how described what the 3DS and the DS were. So my overall takeaway is that great that Persona 4 Gold did well on PC via Steam. I'm glad. It sounds like they're going to try to bring more of those games over to other platforms, to be exact. I would like to see more of Aulx games make their way over to the Nintendo Switch. But at the same time, I would like to see Sega put more games. Like, I would like to see them to try to bring the Yakuza series, if I'm saying the name correctly though, to the Nintendo Switch. I know they like to talk about how the Wii U version sold poorly, but we're not in the Wii U era anymore. We're in the Switch era now. I would like to see them bring that over. But it's great that Sega is starting to realize maybe we shouldn't put it on just this one system only. Maybe we should start looking at other platforms to put like Aulx's games on Aulx's games as well onto those other platforms indeed. So I'm glad that it sounds like, if I'm reading this correctly, that Sega is kind of opening up maybe a little bit, at least in regards of this situation, to be exact. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 4, and this one has to do with, well, not so great news in regards of the Marvel's Avengers video game. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 4 of our My 2 Cent video, and this one has to do with the Avengers, particularly Marvel's Avengers video game that was released on the PS4, Xbox One, and PC via Steam, not to mention Google Stadia. Now, ever since that game was revealed last year at E3, the reaction to that game has been sort of mixed at best, though. There were some people didn't like how the characters were designed and all that stuff, and of course that led to sort of like the game kind of being delayed to basically iron out some areas, though. But then when we started to hear stories about how this was becoming a live service, or how this originally was a single player game, well, I would say my interest in the game kind of dropped and all that stuff. Well, the game is certainly now out in the wild and all, and well, at least from what we've been hearing so far, it seems as though Square Enix may have lost a lot of money on this game, to be exact, not to mention a player base kind of dwindling and all. In 2 of the articles, first one we will start off is from Gaming Bolt. It reports that Steam players, at least the Steam version of Marvel's Avengers, has dropped 96% since launch. According to the article, it reads that, quote, "There are a lot of things that one can assume. For instance, when you take one of the most popular brands with several of the most popular superheroes and put them in a game, the assumption is that it will be a huge success." While Square Enix took the gamble with Marvel's Avengers, and while the initial sales seemed to be okay, it was one of the reasons for the big loss at the company. If you have any doubts about the game's legs, well, they said the Steam player count will stop them. As documented by GITHPY, they show that Avengers peaked on Steam with just 1,190 concurrent players. That marks a massive 96% drop from when the game launches in September. Granted, we are only talking about the PC version here, and Steam specifically at that, but that still paints a big picture of where the game is ultimately at. This isn't the first we've heard of the game player base declining at a rapid pace either. They point out the game is available on PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Stadia. The PS5 Xbox Series S and X version were delayed into 2021. It's unclear at this point where the game actually goes from here and if it can be resurrected. In the meantime, though, it's reported, at least according to Screen Rant, they're talking about a little bit more about the company actually losing a lot of money. In fact, according to one analysis who posted this on Twitter by the name of David Gibson, he writes that, quote, "Square Enix reported 6.5 billion yen loss from HD Ichi Games, driven by Marvel's Avengers, would not say how much they sold, but that the volumes were 60% of their plans, implying game cost over $100 million to make, but only sold $3 million or so. Ouch. He also followed up with Marvel's Avengers. It looks like the total cost of the game is closer to $170 million to $190 million, given the only expense 70% of costs in the quarter plus marketing costs. Why someone didn't say stop posting the multiplayer beta will remain a mystery. Square are adamant that they can make a recovery from this, though. Now, it is unfortunate the game suffered a lot of that losses, but basically a lot of things really didn't stick to it. The whole online mode, and the glitches certainly did not help and all that stuff. As for where the game goes from here, it remains to be seen. I mean, could Marvel's Avenger recovered? Yes, it is. There is that possibility. As I cited before, Final Fantasy XIV recovered after its botched launch, to be exact. No Man's Sky is another example. That game had a botched launch, and that game has recovered and is in a way better shape than it was when it originally launched. But at the same time, we've also saw the situation with EA's Anthem as well, another live service type of a game, and that one, well, it seems every attempt EA has tried seem to have failed. The last time we've heard is that they are going to go back to the drawing board. They scrapped their calendar or whatever they had planned just to fix the game, to be exact. And, well, we haven't heard much about it, and it's unclear if that game will ever recover and all. So, I mean, it is possible this game may never recover in any way. I mean, look at also Battlefield 5 is another example. That game never really recovered at all either, unlike Star Wars Battlefront 2, to be exact. So, I just wonder if it was smart to go with this live service kind of approach. And we've seen a lot of developers push that live service approach. And, well, it's not, I mean, it doesn't always work. I mean, some games it will work, some games it won't, to be exact. And not everyone has the luxury to basically be able to sit down and log in every single time to play these live service type of game. Not to mention the constant push for microtransactions and so forth. So it's unfortunate, but not shocking to see Marvel Avengers not doing so well. That and perhaps maybe locking Spider-Man only on the PlayStation 1 system may have not sat well with everybody. I mean, compare that to Marvel Spider-Man and how well that did, and Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, The Black Order for the Nintendo Switch, and how well that one did, though. It's just, it amazes me those two are doing very well, but this one, not so much. So it does make you wonder, would it have been better for Square Enix, their original plan, to turn this into an offline or multiplayer or single player type of experience rather than this live service kind of approach. So overall, ouch on Square Enix in terms of the fact that they are losing money off of this, though. Could the game recover? Like I said, it is possible. But at the same time, it may not recover like what we've seen with Anthem. Who knows whether that game will recover or not. Or even Fallout 76, which seems to be doing somewhat better, but still, that one got a lot of... There was a lot of bad things about that one. So we'll see if Adventures will recover or not. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't recover at all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to our fifth and final part, and this one has to do with the whole issues with scalpers in regards of the PS5 and Xbox Series S, or basically X to be exact. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our fifth and final part of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the situation with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, particularly the whole situation with the scalpers. Now, I'm sure most of you are aware, this week, though, the PS5 and Xbox Series S and X launched. Xbox Series S and X launched on November 10th, while the PS5, both the physical and digital version, launched around on November 12th. Now, as I mentioned before, though, I found it easier to get an Xbox Series S than it was with an X, though. I was able to pre-order that easily, but with the PS5, the situation just became a mess. And for those who were trying to see if they could grab one on launch day, if they didn't get a chance to pre-order it, though, well, it seems that a lot of people were out of luck, including me, though, which tried to do it through Walmart VI online, but even they were running into problems, and I think we have a good reason why, and that is scalpers. We started to see a lot of scalpers start reselling this stuff online, though. It's especially particularly on eBay at over, like, I've seen up to like over $1,000 and all. In an article from Video Game Chronicles, it reports that, quote, and this is some of it, is that PS5 launched today in the market in the US, where it cost $500 2 days ago after Xbox Series X launch with the same price tag. Demand for both consoles is currently far outstripping supplies, which looks set to be highly limited until 2021. In fact, some unsculpted buyers are trying to take advantage of. Searching eBay for PS5 on Thursday evening returned 5,929 results, although I expect that probably goes basically that's, I'm sure that number has gone up, ranging from the price from over $600, including shipping, to $5,100. Doing the same Xbox X returns, 4,555 results, again probably gone up, ranging prices from almost $650, including shipping, to $5,000. According to eBay, a large numbers of listings for both the PS5 and Xbox Series X have been sold at approximately $1,000 and all that stuff. Now, we've also heard that Sony and Microsoft said that their systems have that they have sold pretty well and all that stuff. Sony is saying that they're working as hard as ever to meet the demand before adding in something of an understatement. It may be aware that not everybody who wanted to buy a PS5 on launch day will be able to find one as well. So obviously we are seeing a lot of scalpers and all that stuff. And personally, I am kind of disappointed in this, though. While it's not illegal or anything like that, as far as I'm aware of, I am very disappointed in the fact that we see a lot of these bots and a lot of these folks find a way to get more than one system and then sell it on eBay at outrageous prices, though. And I think, to me personally, I think that's really scummy, though. I mean, I think we saw that situation with Nvidia when they were selling their new graphics card, and the kind of situation where bots were just buying many of them, like, outrageous, especially for those who were looking forward to picking up those graphics cards and all that stuff. And it's pretty much the same thing with this. And honestly, I'm not really surprised that this happened, though. I mean, I had a hard time trying to order a PS5 from Walmart when they were doing their check back every certain time and all that stuff. And, well, it doesn't surprise me that this happened, though. Is it disappointing, though? Yes, it is. Especially when we see all these scalpers pulling this kind of, pardon my language, this kind of bullshit and all that. And it does make it, and it is certainly not fair to those who were looking forward to trying to pick up one when you have somebody basically picking up more than just one. Excuse me, or pulling, like, with this whole bot situation and then selling them at outrageous prices on eBay. Not to mention, while there may be some honest sellers on eBay, there are probably those who probably will try to, take advantage of it. Like, I've seen people who will sell, like, just an empty box of maybe, like, the PS5 for this certain amount of money and all that. So it's ridiculous, though. It's not illegal. I'm not shocked that this happened, but it is very disappointing to see this actually happen. And I think it is unfair to those that are basically been hoping to try to pick up a system on launch day and all. Supposedly, from what I've heard, is that there's going to be, you could try your luck on Black Friday, and maybe they'll have enough systems for people to pick up. That's something I would certainly try, at least with the PS5. I hopefully, for those who may have missed out, may try Black Friday and see if they could pick one up then. But it's a very tough situation trying to get a system and all that stuff. While I understand COVID-19 may have been a factor, and to some degree that is possibly true, nevertheless, the Scalper situation is just to me just ridiculous and all. So overall, I'm not shocked that scalpers are taking advantage of the situation with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X and all that stuff. It's just, to me, I just think it's despicable that they are, especially for those who were hoping to try to get a system if they weren't able to pre-order one, to be exact. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about the Serious Sam collection coming to the Nintendo Switch? Are you pleased that they're bringing this game over to the Nintendo Switch? Are you looking forward to picking it up and playing it yourself? And is it possible, assuming they could port it over and assuming the timed exclusive for Google Stadia ends, do you think this could open the door to the idea of Serious Sam 4 coming to the Nintendo Switch? Do you think it's even possible it could open the door to, say, a game like Shadow Warriors possibly coming to the Nintendo Switch? What are your thoughts about this whole controversy surrounding Genshin Impact, including certain information like players' phone numbers being revealed, though? Does this in any way impact you basically playing the game if you're playing it, though? Do you think the developers have resolved this problem, though? Does this in any way prevent you from joining the game, or does it prevent you at all? What are your thoughts about Aulx and the possibility that they're looking at bringing more IPs or back catalogs of games to outside the PlayStation, following the success of Persona 5 Gold on the PC? Do you think this is a good thing for Aulx to do? Do you think they should bring some of these games over to the Nintendo Switch, if possible? What are your thoughts about the reports that Marvel's Avengers, the video game, didn't do well in terms of sales or in terms of, financial loss for Square Enix? Are you surprised by this? Are you not surprised by this at all? Do you think it's possible that Marvel's Avenger could recover in any way, like Final Fantasy XIV and No Man's Sky did? Or do you think it will suffer the same fate as, say, a game like Anthem is right now? Or do you think that Square Enix will eventually pull the plug on this live service altogether? And what are your thoughts about the situation with the scalpers regarding the PS5 and Xbox Series X? Are you surprised that this happened in any way? Are you not surprised about this at all? Are you going to try your luck on eBay to try to get a PS5 or an Xbox Series X? Or are you going to try to try your chances on Black Friday, which I think is next week, and try your luck there in any way? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!